It was clear to me that I didn't want to come in the patriarchal director point of view and say, no, we have to make music and we have to do this and it has to be a collaboration and we have to create a piece at the end of it. So I had to challenge my own coloniality, my own kind of sense of who I am as a director even, to say, let's just hold space. Let's make room for what needs to be said to be said. And in this particular assemblage of souls and people in the room, what needed to be said was said. And it took 4 days to say it. But what it did create was a sense of intimacy, trust, relationship that I know for me is really hard to experience in a status quo choral music space.
Organically, when you're on the road with someone, you start sharing stories and you start to unravel a little bit and you become friends. I don't think that's intentional. I think that's just what happens when people hang out together for too long, you know? But I think in this project, I think bringing to the forefront the stories rather than a finished product like we did, we were having these deep conversations that are often not easy to talk about, but kind of creating that space where every person in the room has something valuable to say and is vulnerable to a point where they know that this is a safe space to do so. It's like even creating that environment in itself is a big feat, I find, in any professional ensemble.
This group of humans, vocalists, philosophers, and friends, I think it was really beautiful to get to experience I think everyone was just very open. So this process, we all come from such different places, but fundamentally what makes us make sound is, it all comes from the same place, I think. This need to connect, right? This, whether it's to each other or our pasts or our ancestors or our futures, I think we're all drawn to sound to connect.
I remember Hussein sharing a melody, and when Hussein was sharing this melody, it's not a part of my culture, and yet it really pulled on a memory for me. It pulled on a song that came to me, and so I shared it, and I said, I think this layers with what you're doing. And then we explored how these two things sort of could overlay. That was really meaningful, coming together with the idea that we will all create something as we go that will be informed by everybody in the space. That's really decentered. The process in itself was decolonized. I'm not a big fan of that word. I really think about how we need to go forward through connection. So I think that we created a lot of connection by being in a space where we are going to allow it to happen the way that it needs to happen. Give it the time and the space and the patience to let those ideas develop and unfold. That to me feels decolonized.
We all have come from different backgrounds, but we also embraced singing as a way to express ourselves. That connection is like really important, I think, for any project or any collaboration to be fruitful. Is like we need to know and trust each other. And so that's the other thing, is trust is really important to any project. And all the people that are involved in this project, I trust with my life. I think sharing a lot of these intimate feelings of growing up, like I think we all experience, like bullying or hatred towards us because, whether it's the color of our skin or, how we talk or how we act. The sharing of these stories with each other and the sharing of voice, like I said, that trust to be able to share, just being free. It's in some situations when I collaborate, sometimes I don't feel free. Like I feel the pressure to perform, and that's all I'm there for. It's to perform.
I think a lot of our conversations were dominated by how to build community in sound making that felt like connection was the priority. And sometimes that takes visiting and learning and sharing and, breaking bread and getting to feel vulnerable in a space with people of such separate existences. Hear and feel and learn about all of their ways into sound, such that mine may be enriched, and to hope that I can offer something to them too, as, I don't know, as blank as it sometimes may seem. It gave me hope. It gave me hope that the priorities can be genuine in music making, in, not capitalistic, not we have to produce something for the sake of consumption by an audience. It's to make music because we're human,
We think that music is a universal language, but not all music serves all people. However, music is part of culture generally, universally, but not all music speaks to different people. What I found in these intercultural collaborations was it wasn't always easy. It wasn't always easy for a musician from Iran and a musician from Syria to connect because they needed certain markers in the music that helped them preserve their particular identity. And I was in a situation where two artists put their instruments down because they couldn't find the common ground. I've learned that these intercultural exercises are more than just musical exercises where you just assume that someone from Lilwat First Nations heritage will easily be willing to add a tune and mix it up with someone with a Hindustani jazz background. And that was my assumption coming in here, that we would enter this collaboration, we would all sit in a circle, I might facilitate a little game, an improvisatory game or a co-creation game, which would allow us to be free and feel safe to then, okay, Hussein, you can bring your melody in, and Shruti, what are you going to add to that? And Sarah Jo, how are you going to add something? Deanna, do you want to bring something from your cultural First Nations heritage? Russell, what can you toss in there? And so I think I was coming in with this expectation, an idea, a centralized idea of what each person would bring. What surprised me was that that wasn't the case, because as much as I want to reclaim and claim my intersectional pluralistic identities, so does everyone else.